Welcome to another episode of Youier. I am your host, Elle Edwards, founder of the Itchy Soul Playground and Youier. Now, today's episode, quite candidly, isn't the one I was planning on recording today. I thought today I'd be sharing the episode which I didn't get around to recording yesterday, and we'll get onto that one tomorrow. It's going to be a fun one. I hope it sounds good on paper. Today, though, is all about appearances, and some of you following along will have already seen The View. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, I would encourage you to go and find the video version, because apologies in advance, this is really more of a visual episode. So if you're watching the video version, you will see that everything looks relatively normal. My hair's a bit because I've just taken coffee around the outside in the rain to the guys who are working in the house. But other than that, things look lovely. I've got my delightful yellow background, all is good. However, what you can't see, and some people following along, members of the playground who were on the call yesterday, will have seen this already. What you can't see is if I glance like that, I have a bath in the middle of my office, and to my right I have the front panel. There's a toilet at the top of my stairs. There's a sink just outside the door. There is a bathroom in my house waiting to be installed. It is even more chaotic than it was about a week ago. I thought we'd hit like chaos. It's taken it to a whole new level. And the whole point of today's episode really is everything isn't always exactly what you think it is. What I mean by that, and one of my bugbears, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but it feels timely to remind you that not everything isn't always what it appears to be. You can't believe everything that you see on the internet, and sometimes people are showing you what they want to show you. Even people like me who are transparent, like I will show up with a nice neat background. Usually I would have brushed my hair after getting all windswept outside. I purposely didn't because of the context of this episode, but someone like me who does, I'd like to think, a pretty good job of just being Youier, being myself, showing up quirks and foibles and eccentricities and all, because what would be the point otherwise? I'm here to advocate that you do that, so why would I be fake? At the same time, there's still always, even for people who are really transparent, there's always going to be a level of filtering. So the background that's nice and neat and tidy, for example, brushing my hair, not telling you or showing you the chaos that I can actually see around me. That sort of stuff you don't usually see. And so the reminder and the piece that I feel compelled to share with you today is just by way of encouragement, because you're going to have days where you just feel like everything's just a lot. Today I woke up and I had a really good sleep, and I just woke up though with just everything feeling a lot. And I wonder with hindsight, because quite candidly, what I didn't do, I didn't go, okay, God, what are you showing me with this heaviness? But the thought that pops in my head, and I want to say thank you, Holy Spirit, is actually maybe that heaviness wasn't actually me. Maybe that was about God going, okay, this is how people are feeling. I don't know. Note to self, another time, I'm going to ask and see what comes up. But as a result of that feeling, I would quite happily just sit on the sofa. I've just recently got into The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon Prime. I watched the pilot episode a couple of years ago and loved it, but for some reason didn't get into the main season, but just started watching it again, and she's really funny. And it would be really easy to sit on the sofa and just binge watch funny things all day. And when you're having days like that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. People will try and tell you need to power through, and yes, God can empower you and you can move through stuff, but at the same time you need to pay attention to your body. If you're having a day, if you've been go and actually you've kind of almost hit a wall, I'm here to advocate that actually sometimes the very kindest thing you can do for yourself is just to sit on the sofa, watch or listen or just be. And at the same time, there will be times where you want to maybe do a little bit of that, but you also want to move forward and get some stuff done. And the problem is that sometimes we fall into this trap of we know how we're feeling in here, and this maybe like a inside us, but we look around and everybody else seems so bright and shiny and delightful and wonderful and everything's amazing, woohoo! And the reality is that might not be their truth. That might be the picture that they're wanting to show you. Maybe they're doing it because they don't want to add, there's already a lot of in the world right now. Maybe they don't want to add to that. And so they're just, putting a smile on their face to help shine a little bit of light into the world. And that's delightful and wonderful. And that's great. I love that. At the same time though, if all you ever see from people is that, woohoo, everything's amazing, and then how you're feeling inside your head, you're having that day where there is a danger that you'll feel like there is something wrong with you, when the reality is there isn't. Life is ebbs and flows and ups and downs, and we need to pay attention to what's going on in here and how we're feeling. And so today, if you're having one of those days where everything just feels like a lot, know that you're not alone. Know that we all have times like that. Anyone who tells you they're happy all of the time is either lying to themselves or you, or they're on something. The reality is that nobody's happy all of the time. That's absolute nonsense. We all have days where it's a bit like, ugh, we just don't usually talk about it. Well, this episode is talking about it and demonstrating it, and giving you those tangible examples. It came up yesterday in the playground get together. It also came up in a coaching call that I was on. And I thought, and so actually, when I woke up feeling like this, it gives me that nudge that maybe somebody needs that reminder. Please don't fall into the trap. That comparisonitis, it's a deadly disease. It will get you every time. It's not literally deadly. It just really does your head in. But you don't need to be comparing yourself and what's going on in here inside your mind with what everything else you can see around you, because sometimes what you're seeing isn't the reality. At the same time, if you are having a day where things are a bit like, ugh, I want to encourage you, reach out. And the flip of that, if you're having a great day, start to notice if there are people who are quieter than usual, just check in with them, ask them if they're okay, send them a text, ring them. You could write them a letter, that's a bit old school, but it works both ways. But if you're having a day where things feel ugh, and you can reach out to somebody, then do. If you can't, if nothing else, try and find something that puts a smile on your face, because you're not going to stay feeling like this every single day and for always. The other piece is really important. If you find that actually day after day you're having more of those days that feel ugh, the mental health public service announcement reminder, of course, you need to, I hate shoulds and needs to, but I want to encourage you, if actually you do have more of those ugh days, I would encourage you to speak to somebody, reach out to your doctor, reach out to somebody, a mental health professional, because I love sharing this happiness stuff with you. I love bringing those tools and those resources. At the same time, I'm not a qualified mental health professional, can't even say the words. So it is important, and it would be doing you a disservice if I didn't remind you. It is not the norm to have day after day after day where you just can't function. And so hopefully that's not you, but the thought pops in my head to remind you and to mention it, because you don't have to stay feeling like that. And sometimes, and actually this is a conversation for another time, it's a part of a story, part of my story, sometimes those feelings of what the medical profession will diagnose as depression, for example, are actually symptoms of you not being you. Like I say, we will get into that in a future episode. Other than to say that when my children were small, it was the time in my life when I was the most angry and frustrated and not happy. You probably wouldn't have recognised me. And it was also, no coincidence, a time in my life when I was putting expectations on myself of how I should show up, this person that I should be, instead of embracing who I actually am. So that part of the story I will share with you another day, because I don't believe that all of the time these labels that we get and the diagnoses that we get are always helpful, because if I had gone to the doctor then I would have probably been popped on an antidepressant and I wouldn't be me. That's not me knocking antidepressants. People will need those chemical boosts from time to time, and I've also seen the benefit of those as well. I feel like I'm digging myself a really big hole here, trying to cover as many bases as possible. But ultimately the point is, if you're having more days where you feel ugh than the good days, I would encourage you to reach out to a medical professional, a mental health professional. You don't have to stay day after day after day. But if you enjoy this, the other quick reminder as well is, if you would like to hear that story, for example, of when depression wasn't depression, make sure you subscribe, whether that's via the podcast, via YouTube, wherever you're listening to this, follow along. And maybe we'll do that story tomorrow. I don't know, we'll see what God says. But in the meantime, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you. I look forward to catching up with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.